Hikaru Nakamura thrives in tense positions. When his opponent builds pressure on one side of the board, he just doesn't sit back. He shifts the fight to the other side of the board to create the counterplay. So let's look at his game against Grandmaster Alexander Rustemov to learn more about this. So in this game, Nakamura has black pieces and Alexander Rustemov plays the move b4. So his plan is that he wants to create some activity on the queen side. Now, Nakamura slowly but steadily shifts and creates activity on the king side. So he goes for the move knight e7. Now, what's the idea behind that? We'll slowly learn. So rook c1 gets played. Rustemov is clear that he wants to do something on the queen side. Nakamura brings the knight to g6. See, he's still building things. It's not like just knight g6 and then he will go for the king side activity. No, it's just the beginning of the plan. Then queen d2 is played by Rustemov. Nakamura plays d6. What's the plan of d6? Potentially, he wants to go for e5 and then try to go for f4 and create the activity. Then knight e1 gets played by Rustemov. Then Nakamura plays the move h6. What could be the plan of h6? So it's a useful move. Maybe the king can slide over to h7. Another reason could be that if the knight moves, then there can be g5, f4 idea. Who knows? So he's just trying to be flexible, slowly improve the position. Then, in this case, Rustemov is like, all right, that's enough. I am going for the pawn break on the queen side to do something. Then Nakamura exchanges the bishops and then plays queen d7. There's no way he was going to keep the queen on the same file as the rook, especially when pawn break is there. So then Rustemov plays the move h4. He's trying to deal with potential activity of Nakamura on the king side. Nakamura is not worried. He's just improving the rook's position by playing rook fd8. Rustemov plays h5. So he's restricting Nakamura's activity on the king side, or that's what he feels, because how Nakamura continues is extremely instructive. So then c takes d6, c takes d6. The open file is there. There is a pawn in the center. So there is clearly some potential for activity for Rustemov. Then he goes for knight f4. He's like, I'm going to improve my knight's position. This is an outpost square. Maybe the knight can get shifted there. So then Nakamura plays the move queen f7. He is like, no, I don't want to allow knight g6, even though exchange would be happening right now. But he is like, all right, let's not allow that. And here's another reason. If the knight moves, then h5 pawn would fall. So the queen is quite flexibly placed on f7. Now, Rustemov goes for the move rook c6, improving the rook's position. Now, Nakamura recognizes that it's not like this rook is threatening this pawn or anything. Rustemov's plan is to play rook c1 and then get the rook on the 7th rank. And he did not want to allow that. So he played the move rook d7. Now, queen c2 was played in this position. Then he played rook at e8. He's like, let me keep my pieces together, keep the pieces coordinated, and then I'll do something. Now, Rustemov plays the move queen c4. He is ever increasing the pressure on the queen side. And then Nakamura goes for the move bishop g5. So his pieces seem a bit restricted, but how he activates them and how he keeps the pressure on the king side is something to learn. Now, it would seem like, all right, he could have played e5. No, he was not even thinking about playing e5 because he wants to create pressure on the king side, and in e5 the queens are getting exchanged. So no, the queens might get exchanged and then knight can get to d5, and then it won't be that easy for him to create activity. So that's why no exchange of queens. Bishop g5. What is the plan? The plan is quite simple. That is to exchange the knight and then target this pawn. Now, before we look at the later part of the game, I have a small announcement to make. We at chessneurons.com are bringing courses as a feature pretty soon. So just besides daily positional puzzles, instructive blunder puzzles, blogs, weekly videos, we are also going to have courses on positional themes and more. Now, if you want to bring some other features, if you want to see some other features on chess neurons, or if you want to see specific blogs or courses on some specific topics, then please let us know, and then we'll try to incorporate that and increase the learning. So let's continue with the game. And in this game, rook c1 was played. So he's trying to triple on the c file, maybe rook c7, maybe rook c8, but then bishop takes f4. Bishop takes f4, queen takes h5. This is not just about a pawn for Nakamura. No, it's about activity of the queen, number one, and number second. The knight can also get to g6, and there can be ideas of g5 as well. Rustemov brings the rook on the 7th rank. He's like, all right, I'll still do something on the queen side. But Nakamura is not worried. He goes for the move g5. Rustemov is like, all right, your queen is there. But then I don't think, since the other pieces are a bit passively placed, it's not going to be that easy. And if Nakamura plays something like knight g6, there can be rook takes d7, rook takes d7. Queen c8 is one. And by the way, after knight g6, there would be just queen takes e6 and the game would be over. So even if e6 would not be hanging, there would be some queen c8 type of ideas after the exchange. And of course, so then the problem in this position is that this knight can't move. Now what? So the thing is that Nakamura can weaken Rustemov's king side with the help of pawns as well. So f4, this was his plan. The point is that if g takes f4 is played, then there is queen g4 check, weakening the king and improving the queen's position with a tempo. And then if something like king f1 is played, so this is what was played in the game. G takes f4, he regains the pawn, and then the bishop will get restricted, and rook takes d7 was played, rook takes d7, bishop d2 got played. This is actually just lost because there is queen h3 check. If king g1, then there is rook g7 mate. If king e1, then there is queen h1 mate. So this was quite an instructive game on how we should be ready to make the shift from one side of the board to the other side of the board if our opponent is putting significant pressure. Because let's just say that after b4, if Nakamura did everything on the queen side and nothing on the king side, then it would be difficult for him to create such activity. So next time when your opponent is pushing the pawns, when your opponent is going for the pawn storm on one side of the board, don't just look to defend. You can also ask yourself, all right, if my opponent is trying to do something on the queen side, then do I have the opportunity to try to create something on the king side? Now, you might not be able to do it immediately, but you need to plan, because that's what Nakamura did. He brought the knight here, then the knight here, then the queen here, then that bishop there, and then eliminated that knight, then won the pawn, and then pushed his pawns, and then prevailed in the game. So, an excellent planning by Nakamura on putting pressure on the other side of the board when opponent is trying to do the same on one side of the board. So, thanks everyone for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.